Should I start?
Namaskar and good morning to all of you. Let's start our Gita class, Sunday's Gita class, with a Gita Dhyanam. Om Parthaya Pratibodhitam Bhagavata Narayan Swayam Vyasena Gratitam Puranamunna Padye Mahabharatam Advaitamritvarshinim Bhagavati Mashtadashadhyayane Amatvam Anusandhame Bhagavad Gita Bhavadveshine नमो अस्तु ते व्यास विशाल बुद्धे फुल अरविंद आयत पत्र नेत्र येन तव्या भारत तैल पूर्णः प्रज्वलितो ज्ञान में प्रतिपः पर पान पारी जाताये तोत्र वेत्र एक पानये ज्ञान मुद्राये कृष्णाये गीता अमृत दुहे नमः सर्वोपनिषदो गावो दोगदा गोपाल नंदना पार्थो वत्सा सुधीर भोक्ता दुग्धम गीता अमृतम महत् वसुदेव सुतम देवम कंसचानूरमर्दनम देवकी परमानंदम कृष्णम वंदे जगद्गुरुम भीष्म द्रोण तटा जयद्रथ जला गांधार नीलोत्पला शल्य ग्राहवती कृपेन वहनी कर्णेन वेलाकुला अश्वत्थाम विकर्ण घोरमकरा दुर्योधन अवर्तनी सोतीर्णा खलु पांडवैरन्नदीकवर्तका केशवा पाराशरे वत्सरोजमलं गीता अर्थगंधोटकं नानाख्यानक केसरं हरिकथा संबोधन अबोधितं लोके सज्जन षटपदे रह पे पिये मानम मुदा भूयाद भारत पंकजं कलिमल प्रध्वंसे न श्रेयसे मूकं करोति वाचालं पंगुं लंघ्यते गिरं यत्कृपातमं वन्दे परमानंद माधवम् यम ब्रह्म वरुण इंद्र रुद्र मरुतः स्तुवन्ति दिव्ये स्तवे वेदै सांग पत्रम उपनिषदे गायन्ति यम सामगा ध्यानवस्थे तद्यतेन मनसा पश्यन्ति यम योगिनो यस्यन्तं न विदुषुर असुरगणा देवाय तस्मै नमः. We are going to start this class with the Urmilji's recitation of
Sankhya.
Her composition of Bhagavad Gita. So this is a chapter 2, first 20 verses she is going to recite. Thank you, Urmil.
Thank you, Hersh. This is chapter 2 of Bhagavad Gita, Sankhya Yoga, the path of analytic knowledge. Sanjay, the war reporter, told the blind king Dhritarashtra, Arjun is overcome with pity towards his foes assembled for the war and is disturbed. He is wavering as in despair at his crucial hour. His eyes are teary and blurred. Lord Krishna, seeing Arjun's sense of delusion, commented, "Dejection comes to you at this time of danger? Such a feeling is not befitting noble men. Such disheartenment only brings disgrace, dishonor, and shuts the doors to heaven. O Partha, yield not to faint-hearted. It is not becoming of a mighty warrior like you. O Paramtapa, arise, be brave and spirited to fight the moral battle without further ado." Arjun confessed his dilemma to Lord Krishna, Madhusudan. "It sickens me to shoot arrows on souls like Bhisham Pitama and Dronacharya there. One of them is my grandfather and the other is my teacher. Both deserve my revere. I'd rather be a beggar and accept charities than slay my elders to acquire land and wealth. If I slay them, my guilty conscience will kill the joys of ruling a kingdom and it will ruin my health. I wonder if losing a battle is better of winning. After killing them, we will not enjoy living. But the fact that Bhisham and Drona stand on the side of evilness, they must face killing." Arjun, in state of anxiety, becomes cowardly. He humbly requests his Guru, Lord Krishna, O Krishna, in this situation, what is my dharma and moral duty that I must choose to do? I am your disciple and I surrender to you. Enlighten me the proper action known only to you. I do not visualize the benefits of conquering an exclusive kingdom and a prosperous estate. If I get lordship over celestial controllers, I will still be sad and my sorrows will escalate. Sanjay reported to King Dhritarashtra of Arjun's decision not to fight. But before Lord Krishna, the master of mind and senses, could speak and have his advice lent, the brave warrior Arjun abruptly said, Govinda, I shall not fight, and then became silent. O Dhritarashtra, Arjun sat amidst two armies and his head bowed down for a while. Lord Krishna turned towards this dejected Arjuna and shared his wisdom with a smile. Lord Krishna did not respond to Arjun's despondency right away. He patiently explained to Arjun the nature of the soul, the self, and the body, the real and the unreal. Then he encouraged Arjuna to make his own decision in light of this knowledge, which is the knowledge from Sankhya doctrine. Lord Krishna initiated his first discourse from verse 2.11. O Arjuna, though you talk words of wisdom, you lament over those unworthy of such grieving. The wise mourn neither for the living nor the dead. They concede to God and keep working. At all times, you, I, and these kings gathered here have existed and will be in existence. All of us are part of the eternal soul, the Atma, the pure consciousness. Feel its presence. The soul is eternal and the physical body is transitory. Such an individual soul continuously inhabits the body through childhood, youth, and old age. Then, upon death, the soul migrates to the new body. The wise does not grieve, says the sage. When senses interact with sense objects, you feel the heat and cold, happiness and sorrow. Such pairs of opposites are transitory. They come and go. Hence, patiently, you must endure. O Arjuna, the noblest among men, the wise with a steady mind is poised in pleasure or pain. The wise with a sense of discrimination can rise above dualities and liberation he can obtain. Now, Lord Krishna explains the difference between the real and the unreal, the eternal and the transitory. The wise sages studied the nature of the body and the soul to know the real and the unreal. They noted that the body is perishable and transitory, and the soul is imperishable and eternal. The soul, also known as the Atma, permeates the entire body and learn that it is invincible. The physical body is subject to decaying and death, and the Atma is constant and imperishable. Only the physical bodies perish, but the Atma is indestructible, incomprehensible, and eternal. O son of Bharat, which is India, realize this immortality. Be a brave warrior and fight the moral battle. They lack wisdom who think that the soul can actually kill and that someone can kill the soul. One can slay the body, but learn that no one can ever kill the soul, nor is slaying the self's goal. The soul is neither born, nor does it ever die. It is unborn, ancient, immortal, and forever alive. The soul is ageless and eternal, even when the body gets old, decays, and takes a nosedive. And thank you. That ends the
Thank you
20
very much,
verses.
Urmil. Beautiful. Very nice. So we've been studying this for the last in few classes, I think three or four classes. So Lord Krishna is giving the reasons, the very high level of philosophical reasons to Arjuna. what soul is. And how can we recognize that we are this soul, not the body? So that's why all these verses again and again, Lord Krishna is explaining. And in verse number 24, where we ended our last week's class, he was summarizing. He said, the self cannot be cut, nor burnt, nor wetted, nor dried up. Therefore, it is everlasting. Okay, it's everlasting. It can never be destroyed by anything. That's why it's called eternal. He's adding to his definition something more now in the next verse. Let's look at verse number 25. So again, this is about the soul. And this is what we are, the soul, the self, the Atma. Avyaktaha ayam achintaya ayam avikarya ayam uchyate tasmat evam viditva enam na anushochitum aharasi avyakt, unmanifested. Ayam means this. This means this self, the soul, what we are talking about. Achintaya, unthinkable. Again, ayam means this. Avikarya, unchangeable. There can never be any vikar in it, no change, no modification in it. Uchyate is said. Tasmat, therefore, evam means thus, viditva, having known. Enam, this, na means not, anushochitum, to grieve. Aharasi, you deserve to. So Lord Krishna is telling Arjuna that the self is said to be unmanifested, unthinkable, and unchangeable. Therefore, knowing this, okay, knowing this to be such, you should not grieve. Because Arjuna said, I am full of grief. I don't know what to do because my mind is clouded. I cannot make up my mind what to do, what not to do. So this eternal, all-pervading self is certainly unmanifest, unthinkable, and unchangeable. This is the truth. So what is unmanifest? How do we understand that this is unmanifest? A thing is called manifest, which is the opposite of unmanifest. So manifest, when we can perceive it through one or the other of our senses. That is manifest. When we can see something with our eyes, we can hear with our ears, we can touch, we can smell. But Atma is beyond all these five sense organs. We cannot see Atma. We cannot touch Atma. We cannot taste Atma. It's almost like if you have a apple seed, you really cannot see apple tree in it. They say that it's unmanifested in that seed. And that is about something which is gross. This is so subtle, doesn't even have a seed. No shape, no form, totally unmanifest. So that's why they say the truth is unmanifest. It cannot be perceived through the sense organs. But then somebody might think that if we cannot perceive it with the senses, mind is subtler than the senses, maybe we can think about it. He says it's unthinkable also. Achintaya. Human mind cannot think about. So that's why we got to learn how to transcend this human mind also. Human intellect cannot rationalize this either, cannot comprehend the infinite, because whether it's mind, so intellect is finite, mind is finite, senses we know they are finite. Finite thing cannot understand the infinite. So unthinkable. And then the third thing he said, unchangeable. There are no parts to it. If there are parts to something, we can change the parts. So Atma doesn't have any parts. Self doesn't have any parts. So there's no modification to it, and there's no changes to it. So that's why these three big terms over here, unmanifest, unthinkable, and unchangeable. Okay, so he's trying to take our attention towards the Atma with the help of this terminology. Then how do we know Atma? That's why we need a guru. We need the scriptures. Somebody who has experienced it. These rishis, they have written all this for us. And they are even telling us what to do in order to know this also. If this body or the senses are inefficient, mind is inefficient, intellect is inefficient, then how do we really know who we are? So knowledge of the self requires Guru and the scriptures. So that's why a faith in the Guru and the scriptures is needed. See, realm of material energy, we can understand with the material energy. But something which is not part of this, we need something different. That's why Guru and the scriptures, they are beyond this. But they have come down to our level and they say, we will take you there because this is our goal of life. Okay, so faith. So now, in the next verse, Lord Krishna is proceeding. He says, yes, this is definitely the highest philosophy. But there are some other reasons also for you not to grieve. He says, Athacha enam nityajatam nityam va manyase mritam tathapi tvam mahabaho na evam shochitum aharase. At means now, cha means and, enam, this. That means this self. Nityajatam, constantly born. Nityam, constantly. Va means or, manyase, think. Mritam, dead. Tathapi, even then. Tvam means you. Mahabaho, mighty armed. That is Arjun. Na evam, not thus. Shochitum, to grieve. Aharasi, deserve to. So Lord Krishna is saying, but even if you think of this Atma as being constantly born and constantly dying, even then, O mighty armed, you should not grieve. Okay. So first he gave the highest level of philosophy, that Atma never dies. Atma is never born. But now if says, if you really don't believe in it, right now, you really cannot understand that. But still you should not grieve. So this verse needs to be understood in the context of a philosophical stream. The land of Bharatvarsha. There was always a debates also, there was an open-mindedness also, that you can think outside of the box. And if this box doesn't work, a different box. That's why there are so many schools of thoughts came from that land. Nobody said that, no guru said that. If you don't believe in this, you are forgotten forever. No. There are so many different philosophies. There are altogether, there's many minor philosophies also, but 12 schools of thoughts. 6 of these accept the authority of Vedas. And I'm sure most of you know the names. Sankhya and Yoga, Nyaya and Visheshika, Mimamsa and Vedanta. These are the 6 philosophies. These are also called Shat Darshan, and they believe in the Vedic philosophy, the Vedas. And within each, as I said earlier, there are branches like Advaita, Dvaita, Vishishta Dvaita, Dvaita, Advaita, etc. There are so many different schools of thoughts, but they all accept the eternal, unchangeable soul as the self. That is the fundamental to all these philosophies. But the remaining 6 schools do not accept the authority of the Vedas. So when Lord Krishna is saying this verse over here, that even if you think of soul as being constantly born and constantly dying, he's talking about the other 6 philosophies. Okay, so even if you see, look at the open-mindedness of these great gurus. And what are those 6 philosophies? Charvak, 4 Buddhist schools, and the Jainism. So those are the 6. Charvak philosophy is called Charvakvad. In nutshell, what Charvakvad says, that the body itself comprises the self. So this is the soul, this body. And consciousness is merely a product of all these different parts. That's all it is. Okay, when the body is gone, soul is gone. And Jainism states that the soul is the same size as the body, and it's subject to change from birth to birth. Okay. And the Buddhist school of thought also do not accept the existence of a permanent soul. They maintain that there's a stream of renewed animation from lifetime to lifetime. Okay. So these 6, I'm not going to go into the details, but basic messages that Lord Krishna says, even if you believe in any one of these, still you should not grieve. But I'm giving you the highest level based upon the Vedas, and from that also you should not grieve. So grieving is not the option here. And we'll see that in the next few verses over here, he is elaborating on all of this. This is also called a materialist point of view. Okay. So let's look at it, how he explains further this philosophy. He says, Jatasya hi dhruva mritya, dhruvam mritasya cha, tasmat aparihare arthe, na tvam shochitam aharase. Jatasya, born. He means for dhruva, certain. Mrityu, death. Dhruvam, certain. Mritasya, of the dead. Cha means and. Tasmat, therefore, apariharya, inevitable. arthe, in matter. Na means not, tvam means you, shochitam, to grieve. Aharasi, you should. For certain is death for the born, and certain is birth for the dead. Therefore, over the inevitable, you should not grieve. Because Arjuna was saying, I don't want to kill them. I'm not going to pick up my bow and arrow. So Lord Krishna is bringing this point to his mind. Even if you don't believe in the Atma is eternal, anybody who has come will definitely die. That's why this popular idiom, as sure as death. Right? Sure, it doesn't sound good, but that is the fact. We always call it a bitter truth about this life. The most certain thing in life is that we will meet with the death one day. The most certain. Anything else may or may not happen, but this will definitely happen. And we all know that. So that which is born must die, and after death, things are born again. So Lord Krishna is continuing to view the whole situation from a materialistic angle over here. So this is the nature of our life. It's almost like if you're standing under the sun in summer and you complain that I'm sweating, it's inevitable. You will be sweating if you're standing in the sun. The same thing, if you're born, you will die. Anybody who's born will die. So he says, why are you grieving about something which is so sure? And I'm sure you all remember the story about in Mahabharata, which relates to the incident when all those brothers, they were very thirsty and they wanted to get water. And Yudhishthira, the eldest, kept sending them one after the other. And there was a yaksha, a celestial being. He said, I own this water over here. You got to answer my questions first. Then you can get the water. But these younger brothers, they did not listen to that yaksha, the celestial being. And they were all dropped down unconscious. Then finally Yudhishthira goes there, the wisest of all. And Yaksha said, you got to answer my questions, only then you can drink water. He said, okay, all right. What are your questions? Yaksha asked 60 questions, and Yudhishthira with his wisdom kept answering those questions. And one of the question was a Kim Ascharyam. Kim Ascharyam means, he said, what is the most surprising thing in this world? And Yudhishthira said, at every moment people are dying. Those who are alive do not think one day they will die too. This is the most surprising thing. And Yaksha, he was happy with all the answers, and he revived all the brothers also, and they could drink water. It's a beautiful story over there. There's a lot of lessons in Mahabharata. And we also forget this. How much we keep on worrying about it, something which is certain. Sometimes we don't even do our duties which we are supposed to do. And this is what Arjuna was doing. He was shirking away from his duty. Okay, and that's what the great Guru, Lord Krishna, is opening his eyes to. Let's look at further. अव्यक्ता आदिनि भूतानि व्यक्त मध्यानि भारत अव्यक्त निधनानि एव तत्र का परिदेवनः अव्यक्त आदिनि. See, again, avyakt means unmanifested. Adini means in the beginning. So unmanifest in the beginning. Bhutani, beings. Vyakt madhyani, manifested in their middle state. Bharat, that's for Arjun. avyakt nidhanane, unmanifested again in the end, nidhan. Ev also tatra there, ka means what? Paridevna, grief. So he says beings are experienced to be unmanifest in their beginning. That means before we assume this body, there's no manifestation of us. Okay? Nobody can see us. That's why we wonder, where did we come from? And after a person dies also, unmanifested again. We don't know where they go. Body is left behind. But the self is gone somewhere. That is unmanifest. So he says beings are experienced to be unmanifest in the beginning, are seen to be manifest in the middle state. Okay, so when we are in the physical body, any kind of a physical body, we are being seen. That's called in middle. Oh Bharat, and are noticed to be unmanifest again in their end. He says at the end, what is there to grieve? What is there to grieve? This is the reality. This is what happens. From this verse onward, it's very beautifully, Lord Krishna is presenting the whole problem of Arjun from the standpoint of a common man. If you just look at all these verses, when he started giving, when Arjun said, you are my guru, you tell me what to do, then he started giving this deep philosophy. He started out purely philosophical discussion, which is called theistic theism. That's how he started. Then he came, the last two verses, atheistic atheism. Because he said, if you don't believe in this, at least you believe in this. Okay? So that is an atheistic atheism. That's why I mentioned that, hey, we are free to choose the philosophy we want to. Okay? But still, he says, you are not supposed to grieve though. If you understand it completely, you will not grieve. And then now, these 10 verses, he's trying to explain the problem as viewed through the glasses of a common man. Common man, even if you don't believe in any philosophy at all, you think that, hey, it's not for me. It's not my cup of tea. For a common man. So that's why he says, hey, you see people are being born, you cannot see them before. You see them only in the middle. And once somebody is dead, you don't see them either. So why are you grieving? This is happening all the time. So to project from the unmanifest to manifestation is the creation of a thing. That's how things are created. Okay. So the manifest world of today was an unmanifest condition before its creation. So present comes from the unknown and shall return to the unknown. That's another way people understand it. Why are you lamenting? And this lamentation is because of the attachment. We get attached to something which is material, which is gross, which is supposed to change, but we don't accept that change. But if we understand that we are all housing, or these are the casings we are in, 3 casings, gross, subtle, and causal. If we understand ourselves that way, then we have a little better understanding. The gross is made up of 5 gross elements. The Prakriti, earth, water, fire, air, and space. That's our gross body. Any body is made up of these. Different degrees, different percentage, but that's what it is, gross body. And the subtle body, we are housed in that also, consists of 18 elements. 5 life years, 5 working senses, 5 knowledge senses, mind, intellect, and ego. That's what it is. That's a subtle body. Panch pran, panch kar indriya, panch gyan indriya, man, buddhi, and ahankar. Sankhya philosophy says this. That's why this chapter is titled Sankhya Yoga. Then causal body. What is the causal body? Causal body consists of the account of karmas from endless past lives. The sanskars, which are the tendencies, they carried forward from the previous lifetimes. And previous lifetimes are countless. We just keep on bringing those. That is the cause of this body. That's why it's called a causal body. So at the time of death, the soul discards its gross body, departs with the subtle and the causal body. And God gives that soul another body according to the causal body. It could be a human body, it could be animal body, it could be a plant body, it could be any body. After the soul gives up one gross body, there's a transitional phase before it receives a new gross body. This could be a few seconds in duration or a few years. So that's why Lord Krishna is saying, before birth the soul existed, after death it still exists, so death is no reason for grief. So the cause for lamentation is only attachment that arises out of illusion. That's the Maya. Okay. Now in the next verse he says, Asharyavat pashyati kashchitenam, Asharyavat vadati tatha ev cha anya, Asharyavat cha enam anya shrinoti, Shrutva api enam vedna cha ev kashchit. Asharyavat means, Asharya is like a wonder, amazement. So as a wonder. Pashyati sees, kashchit someone. Enam, this means this self. Ascharyavat as a wonder, vadati speaks of. Tatha means also. Ev means thus, cha means and, anya, another. Ascharyavat as a wonder, cha means and, enam this, anya, another. Shrinoti hears, Shrutva having heard. Api means in, even, enam this, ved knows. Na means not, cha and, ev also, kashchit anyone. One who sees this as a wonder. Another speaks of this as a wonder. Another hears of this as a wonder, yet having heard, none understands this at all. It is such a wonder. Don't we wonder about it? Where were we before? Where will we go? What is that power in us which makes us live, how this body keeps on functioning. Sometimes we even abuse it, but still it keeps on functioning. As a mother, we all saw the wonder how the baby was, without our even any manipulation, gave birth to a baby. Wonder how things really happen. So this is a statement which implies indicating this presence of God everywhere. This is a wonder. Wonder is when we break a small stone and find a little bug in it, alive. Who gave food to that little bug? Or sometimes from a piece of rock we see the plant growing. Isn't that a wonder? Wonders are all around us. So this is what he says, that we hear it, we see it, but it is a wonder. But we cannot recognize it. That is a wonder. Our real nature, we really cannot. It is our real nature, but we don't recognize it because we are ignorant. We try to understand this truth, this reality, to be achieved as a goal somewhere. Just like we got some kind of a degree, or we went somewhere, or we got some kind of an object after a certain time. We think this is something to be achieved as a goal, and that is a folly. Self being the essential nature, we are never far from it. We are it. We don't have to go somewhere. In fact, we don't even have to do anything. That's how close this reality is, because this reality is who we are. We sometimes get lost into the techniques. And we get lost so much that something is right there and we don't see it. So this whole world is amazing. From the tiniest atoms to the largest galaxies, they're all wonderful. It's all wonder. The most amazing is the Supreme Lord himself. So creation is amazing, but the creator is even more amazing. It is said that Ananta Shesh, the seat of Lord himself, Ananta Shesh, with the divine 10,000 headed serpent, that is the seat of Lord. Lord Vishnu resides on it. They say that Ananta Shesh keeps on singing the glories of God. He's so close to God, he's singing the glories of God since the beginning of the creation. Has not completed it yet. That's how wonderful this is. This creation itself, what can you say about the creator then? Masters such as Buddha, Jesus Christ, and others in every faith, wonderfully, they try to explain it to us. But even when we are listening to these great masters, we get lost. Because our own little mind becomes the obstacle. Instead of understanding what the great master was saying, we just start fighting, my master is greater than your master. But people who listen well, they are encouraged to reflect on it when they are listening. And what they have heard, they're supposed to meditate and practice it. That's what the great masters are saying to us. Do not start singing our glories, but try to pay attention what I'm telling you, reflect upon it, and live up to those principles. That's why those three words I often tell you, Shravan Manan Nidhi Ithyasan. Then we can understand this wonder. So in order to understand this wonder, it's not just singing about it. It's not only hearing about it. It's reflecting upon it, meditating upon it, and then bringing it into our life also. And in the next verse, he is concluding the subject of this section. And that will be our last verse for today. Because in the course of his teachings, Lord Krishna, in the entire Bhagavad Gita, he tried to explain the concept in few verses, and then he tries to summarize it right after that. And this is what's happening. So in this verse also, verse number 30, he is summarizing the instructions which is giving it to us on the immortality of the self and its distinction from the body. See, this is one thing we got to learn from today's lecture also. Sure, we have a body, but how much aware we are that I am distinct from the body. See, just like we are distinct from the house. No matter how much we love our house, how much we decorate it, take care of it, it's our duty to take care of our house. But we are not our house. We are distinct from it. The same way we have to just keep on remembering that I am distinct from this house also. Physical house, the subtle house, and the causal house also. All three houses. I am the self, the Atma, the soul, the owner of all of this. This is what we need to contemplate upon. And this is what he is telling us in this verse 30. Dehi nityam avadhyaha ayam dehe sarvasya bharat tasmat sarvani bhutani na tum shochitam aharase. Beautiful verse. Dehi, indweller. Nityam, always. Avadhya, indestructible. Immortal. जिसका वध नहीं हो सकता, अवध्या. I am this dehe, in the body, sarvasya of all, Bharat. Tasmat, therefore, sarvani, all, bhutani, creatures. Na tvam, not you, shochitum, to grieve, to mourn, aharasi, you should. This, the indweller. So this indweller means the soul. Dehi means the soul. Okay. So this, the indweller in the body of everyone, is ever indestructible. Remember, everyone, not just mine, not just some great people, everyone. Soul is the same no matter where. So this, the indweller in the body of everyone, is ever indestructible. O Bharat, and therefore you should not grieve for any creature. Again and again he is telling us not to grieve. Grieving is tamasic. It's a dark, very dark. So we got to remember that. Grieving is from the attachment to the unreal. Because real can never be taken away. So the subtle reality in each body, the indwelling spirit in every living creature, is eternal and indestructible. We got to remember that. All that is destroyed is only the casing, the container, the finite, the matter, and which is supposed to get old and destroyed. So Arjun has been advised, and through Arjun, we are being advised also that we should not grieve at facing. See, he is facing the very strong enemies. By looking at the strong enemies, he doesn't want to do his duty. We got to look at it. What is stopping us from doing our duties? What is our fear? Our fear could be something like that too. We are not doing something which we are supposed to do out of the fear. Okay, so remember that. So from the standpoint of the absolute truth, there is no occasion for grief and attachment. And he's going to go a little bit more about this. But over here, he's summarizing. So I thought we should end the class here today. So, Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaye Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti 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 Om.
Namaste, Hersh ji.